We'll discuss a little bit about the topic of dancing and clapping on Shabbos. So the Gemara tells us that a rabbi is prohibited playing musical instruments on Shabbos and Yom Tov because of Gzeira, because they're concerned Shema Yisaking Kli Shir. You might come and fix the musical instrument, and if you fix the musical instrument, you will violate a biblical prohibition of Makeb Apatish, of completing the last socket, fixing the object. So that's a biblical prohibition. So the Gemara extends it, even midrabanan, even someone who singing and dancing and clapping also, we don't want them singing and dancing and clapping on Shabbos. The concern is that they'll come to as well, maybe they'll come to use an instrument and they'll end up fixing it. So midrabanan, the rabbi said you can't even clap and dance on Shabbos. In fact, the Gemara in Shabbos Daf Lamed writes, Amalei Rava Barav Chonim Abaye. Rava Barav Chonim said to Abaye, now we learned in the Mishnah, Ein mitapchin, ein misapkin, ein meraktin. One may not clap hands nor dance on the Shabbos or Yom Tov. That's based on the Mishnah later on at Lamed Vav Amud Beis 36b. This Gemara is on Lamed Amud Aleph. So that's what the Gemara says. One is not permitted to sing or dance on Shabbos. And then the Gemara just points out that Idna Bizman Hazeh, we see people doing this. We should not give them words of rebuke. If you see them, even though it's prohibited to do, but if someone's doing it, don't make amacha, don't rebuke them. And the Gemara goes on to qualify this because mutav sheyishogim aliyeh mezidin, better that they violate the sin unintentionally than violate it intentionally. The concern is you're going to tell them, they're not going to listen to you, so better that they violate a b'shogeg unintentionally than intentionally, so don't tell them. People are assuming you're allowed to clap and dance on Shabbos, they're really not going to listen, so don't tell them. And the Gemara qualifies it by saying, Mahani mili, when do we say we refrain from giving rebuke to someone? That's only if it's a mitzvah d'Rabbanan. About the B'daraisa law, but if it's a biblical law, then we must rebuke all the time. The Gemara says, is that true? Then a biblical law we also rebuke? Veloli, that's not true, that's not correct. This Loshna B'daraisa, Loshna B'daram, whether it's a biblical law or a rabbinical law, we don't rebuke. How do we know? Because Tosefes Yom Kippurim, Daraisa, we all know. There's a whole discussion regarding Tosefes Shabbos, adding to Shabbos, adding to Yom Tov, whether that's biblical or rabbinical. We pass it, it's biblical, but it's a discussion. But everybody agrees Tosefes Yom Kippurim is biblical, and yet we say, V'achli v'shasi ad shachashcha, we say, don't rebuke the people who are eating up until nightfall, up until sunset. So we see even on a biblical law, we don't rebuke. So there's no difference between a biblical law and a rabbinic law. We don't rebuke. However, the Bala Eater, among others, says this law only applies to a biblical law which isn't mefurish bakra. If it's an explicit pasuk in the Chumash, then the assumption is everyone knows it, so therefore they're amazed it anyway. So therefore you're allowed to give them rebuke. And some point out that even Bizman Hazeh, even a pasuk in Chumash people don't know, and therefore better not to rebuke them, even on something mefurish b'kra. And others point out that perhaps if you think you're going to be effective in your rebuke, then perhaps even on a mitzvah midrabanan you would rebuke. But either way, the Gemara tells us that both on a biblical and a rabbinical mitzvah you don't rebuke on, and the Baal Yitzchak says perhaps on something which is mefurish b'kra you do. But getting back to what do we see? We see there's a rabbinical prohibition. One is The Gemara talks about not playing a musical instrument because the concern is you'll end up fixing a string and violate a biblical prohibition, and the rabbis extended this to clapping and dancing. Even though it's a step away, they're still concerned about you coming and fixing a musical instrument. We find it as well, Shem Yisak and Klisher, it's a famous kasha of the Achronim. We know there's a famous rule of Gzera de Rava, that he made a decree that when Rosh Hashanah falls out on Shabbos, when Sukkot, the first day of Sukkot, falls out on Shabbos, when Purim falls out on Shabbos, no shofar, no lulav, no megillah today, because we're afraid you're going to end up, yelech eitzo baki, you're going to go to an expert, and then you can end up carrying on the Shabbos. So therefore we say no carrying, no shofar, no lulav, etc. So the question, I think the Bach asks is, so why don't we make that gzera by shofar? Shofar is a musical instrument. Let's say on Yantif, on Rosh Hashanah, on Yantif you can't blow the shofar because the concern is Shema Yisakin Klishir. You might come to fix it, even though I'm not sure how one fixes a shofar. So someone will point out that maybe it's not a musical instrument, so it's not even a question. But let's assume it was a musical instrument, and let's assume you could fix it. The Bach points out anyway, the rabbis don't have that kind of power. The rabbis are limited. The rabbis cannot tell you to go against something which is mafurish b'kra. In other words, if it said in the Torah, when Rosh Hashanah falls out on Shabbos, you have to blow shofars, and the rabbis can't tell you not to. Something which is mafurish b'kra, something which is explicit in the Torah, therefore the rabbis have no power. So they can't tell you to uproot. If they would tell you no shofar because you're going to fix, you might come to fix it, they'll be uprooting a mitzvah in our Torah. And therefore you cannot do that. Like the Taz writes, that's why we have Mila on Shabbos, because the rabbis can't go against something by Yom HaPilu b'Shabbos, something which is the Taz considers mefurish b'kra. But either way, that's the Gemara. You can't dance or clap on Shabbos. It's a rabbinical prohibition, because it might lead to a biblical prohibition of Shema Yisaki and Klishir. So yet we know the minhag is today that in many synagogues they go ahead and they dance, especially Friday night, Karlbach service. It seems to be, definitely in the Hasidic shuls, but even in the non-Hasidic shuls today it's becoming more popular, people dancing and clapping. So are you doing so some people think you're doing the biggest mitzvah by dancing and clapping, and others think you're doing the biggest aveira. How can you? It's the Gemara. The Gemara seems to be clear that you can't do it. So what are the heterim for those who do it today? So Tosfos over here in Daf Lamed and Aleph, Divrei HaMaskil Tzanani Metapchim, he writes, what's the concern of playing, of dancing and singing on Shabbos? Peir Rashi Shema Yisakin Klishir. You might come to fix a musical instrument. I'm assuming then the dancing might lead to people playing musical instruments, and then you'd have to, then you might come to fix it. However, Tosfos says, Samir would be done. In our day Shari, it's permitted to clap and dance on Shabbos. The Dafka b'Yemeim, only during their day. Shahayu Bekiyam Lasos Klishir, they were experts in how to fix musical instruments. Shayahu Migzar, therefore the rabbis made a decree not to. About what he done, but to us, Einano Bekiyam Lasos Klishir, we're not Bekiyam to fix. We're not beginning to fix, and therefore there's no prohibition. Tosfos has a big chiddush. Tosfos says that the prohibition of dancing and clapping on Shabbos no longer applies because we don't know, we're not bikiyim in fixing instruments. So the Aruch HaShulchan has a lot of difficulty with this Tosfos. What do you mean we can't fix instruments? Who said we can't fix it? It's so hard to fix a guitar strings. And when the Aruch HaShulchan disagrees with the premise that we're not bikiyim, And secondly, Rav Moshe discusses, even if we were, how do we have a right to uproot Gzeira? We have a general rule that in order to uproot Gzeira, you need a base in the God of a Chachmu V'Minyan, you need someone greater, and therefore, how could we, even if it was true, how could we go ahead and, even if it still applies, how could we go ahead and uproot the Gzeira? We don't have a base in God of a Chachmu V'Minyan. So Rav Moshe struggles with it. He seems to give a very difficult answer. He says that really, if all the rabbis were around today, it's not something in the Spashe B'chol Yisrael, and therefore it's not a problem. But he's trying to explain Tosas. The bottom line, it's a difficult Tosas, but Tosas writes that Bisman Hazeh, there is no problem of clapping and dancing because we're not worried about, the whole concern is Shef Yitzhak and Klishir. Today we don't have a fixed instrument, so therefore it's not a problem. So that's one heter. Others point out that in the Rambam, that since it's only a D'Rabbanan, it's like a step removed. It's that we assume you can't play a musical instrument, Shem Yitzhak and Klishir. So you can't play a musical instrument in between your legs, behind your back. That doesn't help. But clapping and dancing, which is a step removed, so then now you could do Kla'achayad. The Tosas writes, it doesn't apply this one. I think the Rambam writes you could do a Kla'achayad. The Aruch HaShulchan writes that he wants to claim that our dancing and clapping differs from the time of the Mishnah. It was type of dancing that singing and dancing, type of singing that led to dancing, like the Hora. It was specific types of dance, and today we don't have it. So our dancing today isn't really dancing, and hence it's not a problem. So we have Tosas saying the whole issue doesn't apply today, because we can't fix musical instruments. We don't know how, we're not experts. Rambam writes, you do a Kla'achayad, you do it, you clap it in a non-normative way, because it's only a D'Rabbanan anyway, so it's another D'Rabbanan. And then Aruch HaShulchan says, well, our dancing, it's true you can't dance and clap, but our dancing really isn't the same. And therefore it's not a problem. It doesn't lead, our singing doesn't lead to dancing, etc. And the fourth approach, the Magen Avraham writes that by Simchas Torah, one is permitted to dance, even though we don't usually dance on Yom Tov and Shabbos, but it's Kavod Torah. Because of Simchas Torah, we go ahead and dance. So many things we do out Kavod Torah, the minhag of really fasting of a Sefer Torah falls, there's no really Bavli on it that says you have to fast, yet the minhag is depending who, you're the one who dropped it, the people who saw it, out Kavod Torah is interesting. Rambam, Shuvas Rambam, that even that b'diavad you could be yotzi if you read from a puzzle Sefer Torah. All these halachas we see because of Kavod Torah. So the Magen Avraham writes, at Simchas Torah we permit it for Kavod Torah, so too for other mitzvahs as well. Kabbalah Shabbos, the Sheva Brachas is also a Dvar Mitzvah, and therefore we permit it. So that's what the Magen Avraham writes over there. And therefore any Dvar Mitzvah is okay. And the Minchas Eliezer from the Hasidish, as he says, that no, only Hasidim are allowed, because they're so excited by the Shabbos and Yontif. So it's a heter for the Hasidim. But others point out, maybe Kabbalah Shabbos is different. It's a Gemara Baba Kama Daf Lamed Beis. Rabbi Chanina writes about Rabbi Chanina was Meraked. He went out to go ahead and greet the Shabbos Kala. So, and we know that many shuls during L'chol Dodi, and even before that, Kabbalah Shabbos, to go around and circle around the bim and dance. So perhaps this is based on this Rabbeinu Chanan, and Rabbi Chanina went out. So Reb Belsky writes in his Sefer, well, a student wrote it, halachically speaking, he writes that if you're in a shul and it's Ben Hashmashas, So then we said we could be lenient. It's only a suffix yom, suffix laila. But if it's already on Shabbos proper already, so he's not so crazy about Darkei Shalom from breaking or from the tzibur. He says he kind of reluctantly gives in. Then he talks about he has a problem with the written banging. He thinks that's also a problem here. And as well, they talk about clapping that creates a musical effect in terms of that, and he even wants to say applauding is prohibited. And regarding whistling, we assume whistling is permitted. Some say if you're doing it for a tune, you really shouldn't do it. But other thing, no matter whatever you do, any type of whistling you do out of your mouth, that's considered singing and it's permitted. So, to summarize, the Gemara seems to come out that one is prohibited from dancing and clapping on Shabbos. However, there seems to be a strong minhag in different places that people do it. So in the shores where you don't, where the minhag is not, there's nothing to talk about. But what's the heter for those shores that do it? Either like Tosa says it doesn't apply bisman hazeh, because we don't know how to fix a musical instrument, or Hashokan doesn't like it. And Ramosha's questions, how can we change Gzeirah Drabanan? We don't have Gadol B'Chacham Aminyan. Nevertheless, that's the Bali Tosa say it. The Rambam writes if you do a Kol Achayad, so maybe that makes it okay. It's only Drabanan anyway. Aruch HaShulchan says we don't know how to dance anymore, so it's not an issue. And Magen Avraham writes the Simchas Torah covered Torah we're allowed to dance. So the H.R. Avraham writes so too for all Dvar Mitzvah when it's permitted. And perhaps there's a stronger case to make for Kabbalah Shabbos, because Rav Chanino quotes the Gemara Rav Chanina used to Meraki go out and dance to meet the Shabbos Kala. So Rav Belsky during Ben HaShemashas, he wants to be more mako to do it. He reluctantly agrees if you don't cause a scene, even if it's Shabbos, you could do it in a Shinoi, not to cause a scene. And those are the different heter that people rely on. If for those who are in the school camp that is permitted to do it, either based on Tosa that doesn't apply, you do it with the Shinai, like the Rambam, or our dancing really isn't dancing, or else our dancing is dancing, our clapping is clapping, but we'll cover that Torah with Sarach Mitzvah, what is permitted, and based on Rav Chanina Baba Kama, specifically the minhag of Kabbalah Shabbos, because we see he went out to Meraki to meet the Shabbos Kala.